I'm in a game. I'm in a game. Hello, I'm in a video with my daddy.
What's going on, everybody? So today we're going to have Yeji from, I'm going to say this wrong, I bet, Snicker Snack Studios. And I'm not sure why it's the title that, so we're going to find out here in a minute. But hopefully you learned something about figure painting like I do today. Hopefully I said that name right.
Everyone gets it wrong the first time. It's okay. No purple blades here. That's the thing. It's Snicker Knack Studios, but
Oh, okay.
it's okay. I can be the Snicker and Clint can be the snack, so it's okay.
All right. That there we go.
But
so,
yes,
I'm going to start by kind of how I found you. I found you from the podcast with you and Larry, and I think Clint was on the first bunch of it, and I don't remember who the other guy was. And so explain that whole process and how that all came about.
oh man, that was when I first started painting. So I started painting. Well, first of all, Snicker Knack Studios is just Clint and myself, my husband and I, and we do a lot of painting commissions. And I have transitioned into the teaching sector. But when I first started painting back in 2011, I went to a forum called Heresy Online, and that's where I met Larry. And he was like the one person that would give feedback like on the forum, instead of just be like thumbs up or just like that sucks. Like he'd actually be like, hey, like if you did this to this area, like it would look better. So that's kind of how we found each other, and then we started just painting because I kind of became a rules lawyer, and I was, playing with people that had played in 5 years in the hobby, plus, and they'd be like, no, that's not how you play it. And I'm like, look on page 132, paragraph 3, line like 4. So I didn't find that fun, and I found more enjoyment in actually painting miniatures. So I kind of went that route. And that's kind of where we, Larry, Andy, and Ben, and I would all just kind of sit in a chat room, like a Google Hangout. I don't remember what it was back then, but like a Google Hangout or something, and we'd just sit and paint together and offer feedback to each other. So that's kind of how it started, how Models Workshop started, because then Larry was like, oh, I want to compile a whole website dedicated to like tutorials and like linking out to people so that they can find other materials and things like that they could use for the hobby. And then we laughed that it'd be funny if, we pretty much did that on a podcast, and if people listened to it, because we would have a couple people come back and forth, and they're like, oh, you guys are so funny, like you guys should do this as a whole show. And we're like, you know what, we should try that. And so that's how it got started.
That's how it got started, huh?
Yeah.
And it is not kid friendly, to say the least. Not kid friendly.
I mean, we act like we're 12-year-olds. So, but like in a more, we almost named it After Dark instead of After Hours, if that tells you anything.
Yeah, like just so people know, in case, and Larry's proud of that fact. I think at some point I have to get him on here, but working that out with his schedule is kind of difficult.
Yeah.
But no, I found it, like, I was working in a steel place, so I could have headphones in, and I'd just be cracking up. Everybody'd be like, what are you listening to? And I'd be like, I cannot tell you. I like my job. Well, I didn't, but I didn't want to get fired either. Yeah. but yeah, I always found the topics to be helpful too as you guys were going along through it. You know, like you guys had your humor to it, but you were also giving like spot on suggestions that were awesome.
I mean, we tried to, especially because back then, I don't know, mini painting has kind of changed between 2011 and now, I feel like. Just because there's a lot more freely shared advice. Like a lot of the times before, it was just kind of like, oh, this is my own thing, like I'm gonna be the best at it and you can't have my secrets. So it was really nice when someone would just go like, hey, this is how you do, X, Y, and Z. So we try to kind of make that more of like an accessible thing to everybody else.
I mean, and it's kind of the same way in the modeling community too, but like everybody would like have their niche thing and they didn't want to ever share the whole story. Like you'd see part of the story and then they left out the major part that makes it all work. And it seemed like, I would say even 6-7 years ago when I was starting in figure painting, it was kind of like that a little bit. And now it's like, no, this is how I did it.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that's that way now, because you can learn so much from just anybody. And it's truly, truly awesome.
Yeah, I don't know what like became of it, but like I think kind of after there was a little bit more of a movement of like, let's be artists about it instead of like competing about, whether I'm the best or you're the best. Like, let's make things that evoke emotion in other people. So like I think that's kind of where it translated into, let's help everybody else like tell their story out of minis. That's what, in my opinion, anyways.
So talk about figures over the last 10 years. Because they've really changed. Like it used to be just GW, kind of Reaper was kind of doing series 1. Or they might have been on series 2 when I first started getting into it, but like they were just starting, and now it's like Marvel Protocol. There's they're not really around, but it's the Hordes and Machine
Privateer Press. Privateer Press stuff. Like it's grown. So I started in 2011 and then I had a hiatus until 2015. Like I painted for maybe like 6 months and then I had a hiatus until 2015. So because we moved and new jobs and all of that stuff. But within that hiatus, I think something kind of like, it was just kind of, people were kind of more catching on to 3D printing, I think is what it was. And so things like minis have become much more dynamic. And ever since then, like that evolution has grown into what it is now, where it's just like hundreds and thousands of beautiful things. And I'm like, I can't live forever. I can't paint enough.
Well, I mean, that's true. I mean, it's especially I'll say the last 3 years with just minis and 3D printing, it went from like a static figure like that to like this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's just crazy, the night and day difference.
And I think minis have gotten a little bit more acceptance in society too, which is why a lot more there's like new blood coming into it, which makes the newer artists like have more ideas on designs. And like, the Marvel movies, like it made a whole, craziness. Like people used to just do collectible figures and now there's a game for it. So like it's just like a whole transition of getting younger people like into the hobby, I think.
Yeah, no, it's and like the Marvel Protocol game, like you can make a whole street level scene out of some of that stuff. Same with the Batman one. I think it's the Dark Knight.
Yeah, the things that Night Models does. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but like they have huge buildings, like the Joker thing. Oh my gosh, that's got to be like $1,000 to buy, but it would be so cool to paint all that. So what came up with the name for your studio?
So this is when we first started. So 2011, a couple of friends came over with Zombicide, the board game, and we were playing it. I was snickering because like one of our friends, like he was trying to get something, and I was just going around collecting treasure, and like 5 zombies spawned on him. So I just snickered, and he's like, "Don't be a snickerneck," and I'm like, "Snickerneck, like that's." Funny, like why I don't understand why snicker neck, but then I was like, oh, I do snicker a lot, and then having a knack for something, so yeah, let's just name it snicker neck.
That's cool. I did not know that.
Because I'm terrible with coming up with names. I just
that's not where I reside work wise, right? I totally get that. So and you don't have to answer all this, but what are you doing at the shows now? Because you've kind of made this like a little business kind of thing. Like you're doing the you're doing the Twitch thing, and then it kind of spawned onto something else.
Well,
And
it's been off and on kind of. Twitch kind of became actually a supplemental to the business portion of it, because in 2015 I started. Clint and I were like, okay, we're going to be serious about painting. We're going to like learn as much as we can, and we're going to try and start getting into the competition painting scene. And then 2016 at LVO was the first time I actually had the opportunity to teach. And so I actually was teaching, and I was going, this is how you paint an eye, guys. And like, I'm literally shaking like this, and the paint's going everywhere. And people are just like, are you sure? But I've been teaching since then, and I love teaching. Teaching has been one of my passions since I was younger. Like I've tutored from when I was like in 5th grade. So I just love the moment when people go like, oh, like I understand this. So like I have been teaching since 2016. It kind of evolved into about 2 years ago, 3 years ago now, maybe, where I was doing commission paint, or since 2016 I was doing commission painting and teaching at conventions, but it was kind of small until 2019 when I started doing the whole circuit of like Gen Con, Adepticon, because I pretty much quit my insurance job and then decided I was going to go full-time into miniature painting, and commission and teaching as my whole career. And then 2021 happened. So our 2020 was great. But 2021 just was a series of unfortunate events. And it has still kind of continued, which is why I haven't streamed since since February of last year. But so like it's still been a thing, and I'm going back to conventions this year to teach, so that's been amazing because I've missed that so much. But we're planning on getting streaming again, and yeah.
what's the Twitch link? I might have to put it in there, but
Yep. It is snickerneck_studio. So if I could type.
No, it's really cool how like Twitch has just changed in the last 2 years too, because there's a lot of people still on there, and there's still a good portion of it, but it seems like now everybody's kind of moving to TikTok a little bit because it's a shorter video, right?
Yeah, part of it is it's the shorter video, because streaming actually does take a lot out of you, because whether some people decide to put on a persona, or other people like they just portray their lives as it is, and that's kind of what Clint and I did. But at the same time, like you still have to paint and teach people at the same time and interact with your chat. So it's like doing 3 hats in one like one sitting. So sometimes like after a stream, you're just like, oh, I'm so tired. Like I just want to go nap or go to bed. So it does take quite a bit of energy to do that, like for everyone that's out there. So like since our life kind of took over and it kind of blew up in 2021, like we just were like, okay, we got to put this on hold because we got to take care of ourselves before we try and do anything else.
Yeah, no, I mean it's cool to take a break every so often too, because you guys even did that with the podcast a little bit, and then you'd come back and then you'd go away again. And then, you know, I always find it like, I mean, even this little segment on my YouTube channel is going to start having a little bit of a break like during the summertime, and it might come back in the winter, you know, so it's not, because it's so taxing.
It is. It's kind of, I mean, as much as I love to be on Twitch, at the same time, it is kind of putting on a performance every single time, right? Like even though you're not really performing or acting or anything, like it's still like if you're, and it's also because like on the back end, I always feel bad if I don't put my energy like into the hour or 2 hours that I was streaming. So it just does take it out on you. So yeah, sometimes a break is needed.
No, yeah, I totally agree with that. And so talk about the other Facebook page you have, because you have you have the Snickers
Snickernack.
Yeah. There you have that one. And then are you still part of Models Workshop?
I am still a part of Models Workshop. We haven't really done anything because all our lives kind of got busy kind of at the same time. So we haven't really decided on doing anything back yet. And then, you know, Larry's always driving and our life blew up on us. So like, it's just, you know, one thing after another. I don't know if we have any plans more for the podcast at the moment, but you know, that's something that always can be, you know, talked about again.
So the last time I know where you were at, you're still in Vegas, right? Or did you move out of Nevada? So go talk about the hobby scene in your area.
I haven't been quite a part of the playing scene. I know we have a couple of great local game stores. And then it's kind of like ebbed and flowed. I know that Warhammer was a huge thing for a while, then War Machine, and then Infinity was huge. And then back to Warhammer for a while. So like it's, you know, it's ebbed and flowed in different Marvel Crisis Protocol is still pretty popular around here. Painting wise, I know there's a couple of commission artists here in Vegas, and then I know Frontline Gaming just moved over to Boulder City, which is very close to Vegas itself. So they have their own little studio and things like that out there. But painting wise, like I know there's a couple of us here and there, but like I haven't really I don't get out of this studio here very much, to be quite honest.
But then you have like LVO, like there is a couple of like not competitions, but like art gallery style showings in Vegas, right?
Yeah, so we also do have IPMS stuff here in town. I know a couple of the Scale Modelers Society has like they have their own little convention, and they have I think one over on the east side of town where it combines kind of both, like where the best of east and west type thing that one of the FLGSs here kind of combined with an IPMS like group. So yeah, there's Las Vegas Open and yeah, just a couple of things like that. I do want to try and get more like artists out here if I can like host them here at my house, and then but like, you know, overseas artists, but like that is a little difficult, but we'll see. I mean, I haven't had the time to plan anything for the main part, but yeah, it's kind of nice being in Vegas though, because a lot of people, in California, Arizona, and like Utah, they like coming out here, especially since they're so close, like for LVO. So and even for LVO, like we had a lot of people playing this year, but also a lot more of the artist scene has grown. Due to, actually, to Seth Amsden from Game Castle, and he also goes by Hobby Sensei, but he's kind of tried to grow the art scene at LVO, and then so there actually were people from like Florida and New York and Michigan coming out to LVO, like, and I hadn't seen that for a while.
It's really cool how Vegas is like on the West Coast. It seems like that's the destination place for the figures. There's Vegas, San Francisco, Seattle. That's the 3 shows I know of. There's probably more.
There's San Diego, but that's more of the gaming side as well. So that's Frontline Gaming also has another open, like how Las Vegas Open happens. They have like a San Diego one. And then, but yeah, you're right. San Francisco and then up in Seattle kind of are the other main points. I think that is what we're trying to do. Is Seth is trying to make sure that the art portion at LVO gets to be really known. Because yeah, I mean, I love my home, it's now my hometown. So I want people to come here and enjoy themselves and, see lots of cool models too.
And you can go anywhere from Vegas, really. You don't have to have. That's why I think it's probably the biggest out of the 3, because everybody can go to Vegas.
Yeah, the cheap flights, like, it definitely helps.
Yeah. No, it's just sometimes you hear about Vegas, but you're not really sure what's all there other than the casinos, right? That's why I asked that. It's really nice to see that there are, like, if you go to Vegas, there are things that could be hobby related there that you could check out.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's really, without the strip, like if you take the strip out of Las Vegas, then it's just like any other big city.
Oh yeah, of course.
Like, I mean, everyone's always just like, oh, the strip, it's so glamorous. Like everybody must like want to go there every day. And we're like, the locals we're just like, we avoid it as much as possible. There's like too many crazy drivers out on the strip because they don't know where they're going.
Yeah, I would have been one of them people, so I understand. Okay, so we're gonna talk about some of the figures you've painted, and I'm also gonna bring up this picture, get you to talk about how you do the eyes for that. That's where I want to go next, because this is part of your class too, right? You do the eyes part of it, right?
Yeah, so my main focus, and I've kind of become known as Queen Chibi because I love chibis so much. So I specialize in bright, bold colors and painting chibis. That's my thing.
So my question is, how do you determine like how big the eye is? Like, because on those chibis, the eyes is like, that size, and the figure's like this size. Like it's, how do you determine that? That's my question.
I love painting eyes, especially on chibis, because you can make the expression yourself, right? So whether you have it look a certain way, or if you put in an extra dot somewhere, like, it's gonna look more cute, or if you have it looking looking more down, it's going to be more menacing. So you can do so much with chibi eyes, and that can also translate to regular eye painting. But I just love them. And sometimes I draw a lot of inspiration from anime, So I do a lot of chibi eye studies. So you just go up on Google and just type in like chibi eyes, and it'll give you a whole range of like surprise to angry to like excited, like eye expressions, and I just kind of go off of those. Or sometimes I'll be watching anime and I pause the screen because I'm like, hold on, I like those color choices.
Well, and the crazy part, there's probably what, 4 or 5 colors in the eyes just alone, right?
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 6 in that one.
Yeah, like, and that's the thing that I really kind of struggle with is how do you determine which one to start with? Do you go dark or do you go light? You know what I mean? Like,
So I usually start with the dark portion of the eye first. Let me. Where is? I don't know where my post-its went.
Let me guess. You cleaned off your desk?
Yeah. This is what happens when I clean my desk off. So pretty much what I do, and I have stuff on that one that has put me on the spot here. Granted, that's what this was for, right? So I usually start with the darkest color, like the background color of the eyes first. Focus, please. No.
Oh,
there we go. So like for this one, I start with the dark purple. And I draw the actual U shape of the eye first. So I want to fill that eye area as much as possible, because the more that that's filled, the more that you have room to play around in. So like, you know how with our eyes, when you're looking at me, even how like a third of my eye is covered at the top, that's kind of what I'm doing here with making that U shape, is making sure that that it's kind of like a semicircle or a U coming out of the eye. Then I take the dark colors first, and then I sometimes I'll just fill the whole thing in because it's easier that way. And other times I'll just carve out the shape of the U first. But on this one, I did the whole purple everywhere. And then I went in and I took out a lighter color, like a lighter blue that I wanted to put in. And then I just work kind of in that small little circular area. So, and even my pens or pencils are gone. I feel so underprepared. I'm sorry. I was trying to clean up, and the cleanup actually made it worse.
Like, yeah, you don't want to see this desk over here.
So this U shape, right? So I will take the lighter color and kind of work in this little like jelly bean area here. That little jelly bean area.
Oh, okay.
And then after that little jelly bean area, then I go work kind of in a smaller jelly bean area, putting in a lighter color.
Oh, okay.
So then it kind of layers that lighter color, and this color kind of goes a little bit more down than I actually put it on there, but I'm just trying to show, like, it goes down almost like to the bottom. But so you kind of get a glowing gem-like effect for when you're doing eyes. And that's pretty much what you want to do. It doesn't need to be completely blended all the way, because the pupil's going to go in and the reflection dots are going to go in. So it doesn't actually need to be super blended. It just needs to have like a gem-like look on there.
And you're putting those colors on, you're not letting them dry. You're basically putting them on wet, right?
Nope, I'm letting them dry. So in between layers, it's in Vegas, I can't wet blend. So pretty much immediately when I paint, it almost immediately dries. Whether it's in the wintertime or in the summertime, it'll dry in the winter because the heater is on. And in the summer, it's 110 degrees out here. So we have the AC on. It'll pretty much instantly dry. So you just layer it on. Mm-hmm.
Okay. But yeah, you are letting it dry. That's really cool. I struggle with eyes. Like all my figures, it looks like Medusa just,
So the other other tip that I tell people, whether it's a chibi mini or a regular eye mini, what you're going to do after you finish one eye is put the mini upside down and then draw the other eye in, because we as humans are like our brains are trained to see faces, and so when we have eyes that way, like we're going to try and match it as best as possible, but it's not going to quite get there. So once you invert the mini, then you're going to see it as shapes. And when you see it as shapes, then you can more easily copy that onto the other eye.
No, it's really really cool. That's a good tip. I've heard that a couple other places too. So I'm gonna have to start doing that. Yeah, no, that's really cool. And it's kind of weird how easy some of those things, once you kind of, like it clicks, you know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
But you got to have someone that kind of like jugs your senses.
Yeah, it's because sometimes when you ask like a seasoned painter, and I've asked questions of these, of a lot more people, a lot of seasoned painters back when I was first starting out, and I was going, "How do you do this?" And they're like, "Well, you just do it." And like that kind of, yeah, it's kind of like, it's kind of like when you're right now, I'm trying to teach my kids math, right? Like, I'm like, hold on, I need to look up how I did that before, right? So it's just like getting back into the mindset of like when you're first starting out to give that advice, which is also why when people first like start painting, I tell them take as many classes from as many different people as possible, even if it's the same topic, because you're going to find someone that clicks with you, that just like you understand what's going on in their head, and like you can either ask them to mentor you or teach you private lessons or whatever, but like also you can combine all those experiences and just like combine it to make it yours. Like my classes aren't always the end all be all of like this is how you must paint chibis. Like it's like take what you will. If something works for you here, then apply it, and if not, then figure out, try and make it your own.
Well, yeah, and then you have that guy named like James out of Chicago that just like he starts with a palette of colors, and it like 2 hours later the figure's done. Like, here you go. Like that guy drives me crazy with that.
Yeah, we always joke around that he could put like, he can take 2 eyelashes and put it on a stick and then just like create the most magnificent thing possible. It's yeah.
Yeah, no. Yeah. That is the one thing out of the figure painting hobby that I want to do is a Fort Wapple. Like sit in on a Fort Wapple. I could care less where.
It's fun. It is fun.
And yeah, it's absolutely one of the things I want to do at some point. But
because then you also get the things like the Haribo Classic. That happened ReaperCon 2019, where gummy bears were distributed by one of our Twitch viewers, and people decided, hey, instead of eating them, let's paint them.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Yeah. That would be an experience.
Yep.
Soft object like that would be weird.
And then it was funny because Aaron Lovejoy and I, we were like passing by, and they're like, come here, come judge the Haribo Classic, the first ever. And so we actually got pretty serious about judging it. It was funny.
That's funny. That is funny. So we've got did you want to show any of the figures that you had before we go into
sure, yeah. So I've been doing a bunch of Marvel Crisis Protocol stuff. So here is Lockjaw, I believe is the name.
Okay.
I'm not doing a very good job at this.
No, you're good. It's showing up.
So there's this guy. Part of him was airbrush, so I started airbrushing him for the base, and then kind of went in with a brush afterwards. And then
that's cool.
Yeah, don't let Larry, or don't tell Larry that airbrush is cheating. And then this one actually was my first foray into oils, and I had a really fun time doing that. So she's a lot more I'm trying to. Yeah, I'm
Now,
not doing a great job of this.
now, what color do you start with when you do the skin tone?
So on this one, I started with actually olive skin shadow from Reaper. So I
Okay.
airbrushed that on, and then I started working up it with oils on top of it.
Oh, okay. Okay. No, that's cool. That's a green color and then the skin tone. That's
Yeah. I
cool.
usually try and put like an olivey type of tone underneath skin just because of how our veins are and how sometimes veins look more like olive. I also like more olive skin tone just because I kind of am that way too. So that's why I work that way. That's also my husband in the background. That's Clint.
Yeah, that would be Clint. No, and yeah, look at that. That
And
is
this
so
is
cool.
a Kingdom Death mini.
And that's a 120. That's a 28th millimeter, right?
Yeah, 28 millimeter. Yeah, this was so Kingdom Death minis, they first started back in 2010, 2011, around there, where they had the crazy like wet nurses and like the really just like uh extra over the top um minis, and they kind of were a shock factor, I think, at that time. And then as it came to like 2014, 2015, they kind of went to more of like the pinup style figures, and they're still doing great.
Yeah, and the thing that I will say, oh, what is that?
So this is Queen Raphael, I believe, from Soda Pop Minis. So you'll be seeing her on their website once I send it off to them.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So I do some work for Soda Pop. Like if you've seen their they just were having a sale on the little grog the Mandalorian type.
Guru.
Yeah. So I painted those as well on their website currently.
No, how much commission stuff are you doing now? You doing still quite a bit, or are you back to working full time?
You see that baking rack back there?
Yeah.
That's all our commissions, and it's quite full at the moment because I am really grateful because our a lot of my customers, they were super understanding about the last year, so I am very backed up at the moment, but it is starting to get chipped away. So
No, that's cool. And like and here's the other Marvel Protocol figure that you've done that I really liked.
thank you.
I just from, the blues and that gold. I mean, that figure alone turned out really cool. And then the other one I think you did was the guy that does the floating Modoc, I think,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That figure, like all the blues and purples that you put into that, I thought were really cool.
Thank you. Yeah,
I
I had a lot of fun painting Thanos. Like I have two more to paint now in that baking shelf back there, but I'll be having fun painting him still.
So we're gonna get into tools. You want to answer that one?
Yeah, so I use Game Envy. Maybe I don't have them out. Yeah, so I use Game Envy mini or brushes. They are it's gameenvy.net. And if you don't mind, I will plug. I do have a code if people wanted to go use it. I don't get anything from it, but it's for you guys to get like 10% off, I believe, and it's just Snicker or Snickers. You might have to try both. But their brushes, their Sable by Game Envy they're number 2. So this is a size 00, and it's still new because I don't use 00s. But their size 2 I use the most. And I do like go back and use the Monument Hobbies one as well, but these ones are my workhorse, and they're kind of my favorite as they hold up for about a year of me painting, which varies anywhere from like 150 to about 200-300 minis. So just depending on the year, but like they do hold up quite a bit.
So two questions.
Mhm.
Talk about the different sizes of brushes, right? Because there's like 400, right? All the
Yeah.
way to like 10-1, right? Or no, not 10-1.
I think there's like a 50. I'm not sure.
But you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
there's a big range, right?
Yeah.
And
So
where do you like to sit on that range?
I'm usually, my go-to is a number 2 brush. So number 2 also does vary a little bit between manufacturers because the what is it? Broken Toad brushes, their size 2s are a little bit more like a size, other manufacturers size 3, but it's generally around a size 2. And that I don't use anything smaller than that because here in Vegas, again, the paint decides to dry on the brush before I put the paint onto a mini. So that's why I use the size 2s.
And then when you're doing stuff like the eyes or like, the edge of clothes, are you going smaller or are you sticking with that too?
I stick with the size 2. So I'll use like the side of the tip of the brush so that like the tip doesn't fray as much. And also if you're using the very tip of the brush, it's kind of like you pressing against the tip of your nose. Like depending on where you're pressing against the tip of your nose, like your nose kind of wants to go in different directions, right? But if you press up against the side of your nose, you know exactly which direction your nose is going. And that's the same as the tip of a brush. Like if you use the very like side of like, so if this is the tip of the brush, right? If you use the very side of the tip, like going along, then instead of just the tip, like you get a lot more control.
Oh, okay. Okay. No, that's a good tip. I tried to do that and then it ends up being like not like kindergarten status, right?
I mean, we've all been there before. I used to think that I was the best painter and then I found the internet. So
yeah. True point. So those are the paintbrushes you uses, right? So what are you using to put the figures together when they come like a war or space marine or something?
So like glue or
Okay, what type of glue are you using?
so glue wise, I depending on the mini, like if it's a resin mini, I'm just using regular Loctite. The gel control stuff, the blue Loctite stuff. And then for plastic minis, I'm using plastic glue. So for like Marvel Crisis Protocol or like GW stuff, it's just easier to use the plastic glue.
That's the one from Citadel, right?
Yeah, or you can find it from any other. There's one type of plastic glue that you can find actually that they relabel for other people. I don't remember what it's called, but I do like the needle tip of the Citadel ones, and it's not that expensive for how much minis it puts together.
Yeah. No, the Citadel glue is like, yeah, I use that even on some of the like model cars and stuff. I use that stuff. I mean, Space Marine stuff is thick.
Yeah.
And it puts that stuff together, and yeah, it doesn't like to. Sometimes they fall apart, but not a lot.
I think Testers has one too, but couple products that I use specifically. I don't know where my GW mold line remover. That is one thing that I do use because it's easier than chipping off like the tip of your X-Acto knife. I've done that so many times. I don't know where they went. So I'm just like, hopefully the kids, or the cats don't get them somewhere. But then this stuff. So in between like gap filling, I use the Testers contour putty. So I've used a couple of different putties for gap, like smaller gaps, but I found this one to be less like shrinkage.
No, yeah, that that's some interesting stuff. I didn't think I'm shocked you're not using the green stuff.
Green stuff, it's so hard to work with because it's not water soluble. So that's why I use epoxies. Something
Oh.
like this, or epoxy sculpt if it's like bigger gaps or something I have to sculpt. I usually use epoxy sculpt. Milliput, I just don't like the texture of it, so that's why I don't use Milliput. But I use the other epoxies other than like the more water soluble ones, because it's easier for me to just dip my finger in water and smooth it out than try and like get Vaseline or something to smooth out green stuff for me.
Oh, okay. No, that's cool. So let's talk about paint for a second. And there's a lot of manufacturers out there. How much of it do you have?
So if you see this back here, that is all my paints. And so I use a couple colors from P3, which are these bottles right here. My majority of usage is this stuff, which is the Vallejo game colors. And then a lot of Reaper is in this one and in this one over here. So I use a majority of Reaper game colors and Vallejo game colors and Reaper minis paints.
And that's all you have, really?
Yep. We have Pro Acryl here. Clint was using it. It's on the floor, hidden behind a box right over there. But I just couldn't start getting used. Like, I've already started using the Vallejo ones for so long that I couldn't really change. Like, I couldn't take the time as a commission artist to change to a whole new different and learn a whole new set of paints. So I just kind of stick with what I know.
No, and the Pro Acryl stuff is fairly new, right?
Yeah, it is fairly new. So like I use certain colors from them, like their jade green I have and their ultramarine blue I use, but I use them in conjunction or like mixed in with other things that I
Mhm.
have, because the texture of the paint's slightly different and how you use them is slightly different. So I didn't want to get used to a whole new line of paints.
Yeah, see, I went with Army Painter because I can get it locally, right, at one of the
Yeah.
shops. That's why I went with that.
Army Painter sometimes is a little difficult to use. Especially when you're trying to glaze or things like that with it,
Yeah.
because it's the consistency of it sometimes is not, for me, it was hard to use. So
No, yeah, all that's true with that. But
Mhm.
like it works for me because I started with the craft acrylic stuff,
Mhm.
and that stuff is a lot like that. So I've been able to get a lot of that stuff to work for the most part. I
Yeah.
haven't had the speed paints yet.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing too. Like if you're using big, or if you're doing things like terrain especially, right? You're not going to want to use like 20 bottles of paint from one of these lines, right? You're going to pick up a craft paint from Michael's or something, or like an apple barrel one where you get like a whole, 500 milliliters for like $4. So, yeah, they all have their own uses.
No, and it was just like you look at people like James that does nothing but oils, right? But he has like I know he's got a whole bunch of paint off to the side, or whatever box he's got in his room. But like Lynn, like you talk to her and it's like she has every color of every paint line because that's what she has to have for her work. And I was really shocked that you only have like a certain line. That it's cool. Like I bet you it's cost effective that you don't have, you
It
use
is.
the, but it's just when you look at some of these guys, they're like really, they have everything because they have to have it. It's like,
Yeah.
and you really don't need all that other stuff, right?
No, you don't have to. Like, I do pick certain colors from different lines because I'm like, oh, this is one color, like the jade green from Pro Curl, right? I cannot find another jade green that is as beautiful as that one, or like works as well. Because Reaper or Vallejo Game Color has a jade green, but it's very shiny. What's the word for that? My defense is English is my second language, but it's super shiny, so or glossy. So you have to matte it down versus like the Pro Acryl one is just it's a really pretty color as well as it already does its job. So
Yeah, no, that's really really cool. It's just nice to see that you don't have to have every color under the rainbow, right?
mhm.
What do you think about the shades? You know what I mean, like the weather or the brain fart.
The quick shades from Army Painter or the contrast paints.
Both, right? Because you have one that gives and then the other one is just basically you're throwing on there. But like the quick shades, like even Army Painter, I have 15 of those now because of the new ones from the skin tone set that I just got. Like,
So the Army Painter quick shades, I tell people like that those are great to use, but if you're doing like 20,000 minis and like you need a whole big thing, like you could also do that the same with varnish from the hardware store. But so like that's just cost effective wise for you. And then but like I haven't really used them myself, but it's technically a wash, so
yeah.
there's that. And then the contrast paints, I haven't really had time to play around with them again because commission painting, like I don't want to learn a whole new set of rules to paint. But if you use them like glazes more than just I'm gonna glob something on, it works a lot better. So I've seen professional painters use them as glaze material more than anything, and it's looked great.
Oh, I'll have to try that. Because I only have like 2, maybe 3 colors, mostly because of the cost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I. Okay, so we've talked about paint brushes. Are you using an airbrush yet, or finally?
Yep. Took 3 years to actually get into airbrushing, but we've been airbrushing quite a bit, which is why I airbrush like base coats a lot of the times to make things faster. Favorite current airbrush or the 3 airbrushes that I have currently are Badger Patriot 105, which is my go-to priming airbrush. Like it has the 0.5 nozzle on it. And then I have the Chrome Renegade, which has the 0.3 needle in it, I think. Don't quote me on that. So
not you can get that one has multiple needles.
Yep. I have the smaller needle on that one. So the Badger Chrome Renegade, that is my favorite, to be honest, with just like the ease of use and ease of change and stuff like that, as well as like the trigger. I'm more used to it. And then we have an Infinity, like it's a
it's the Hardened Steenbeck.
yeah, Hardened Steenbeck Infinity something. It's Evolution, something like that. Yeah. And it's like I like it, but I'm also super afraid of bending that needle versus where Badger I can get parts real quick and for cheaper than the Hardened Steenbeck one. So that's why I don't use it that much.
No, yeah, good. Yeah, all good points there. Because it's one of the reasons I have a lot of Badger stuff. Also, I'm not good with them. I have my problems like everybody else does, but it makes doing a lot of the base coats way easier, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, it saves on time so much. When you decide to do base coats and then go back in and detail everything out.
So what other tools do you like using?
Trying to think. Definitely a pokey tool. From I have mine from Reaper, but it's just a T-pin or a safety pin of some sort because sometimes my paint's dry in the actual like nozzle area. Because again, Vegas. What else? I'm just trying to think what other like random tools that I have that I like using. I
Are,
can't think of
are you
anything.
using any of the paint holders or anything?
The paint holders.
Like the Citadel thing that snaps apart?
Oh, I actually like the ones from Game Envy a lot better. So that's these ones, the hobby
Oh.
holders. And these ones are my go-to because they're super easy when I'm painting multiple minis at the same time. I just can screw them and screw them off. And then like it has the little thing. I don't have to like the Citadel ones for some reason. I don't know if it's my hands or if it's what it is, but I can't like pull that apart with one hand and put the mini in at the same time. It just does not work. So I love these. This also comes just separately. I'm trying to see if it'll pop out here for me. Nope. So this handle part, like I really like because it's just easier to grab onto, but there is just a smaller portion of it here if you don't want the whole thing. So
So the thing that goes up the side, explain what that's for.
So it's for extra stability. The funny thing is, so Gen Con 2019, we did Aces of Painting. So Aces of Painting takes professional painters and we do a speed paint for about an hour and a half. And every single person that was sitting down to do this had the same posturing, right? So we had our forearms are on anchored onto the table. We're going like this, hunched over. Our wrists are touching each other. The mini's in one hand. The other pinky is either on the other hand or on the miniature. And we're all painting like this. And so yeah, so that's what happens with this. It gives you a little bit more room to kind of be open, like your shoulders to be open, because what you can do is you can rest your finger or your hand onto this in order to get more stability.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay. That's not the answer I thought you were gonna go with, but that one's awesome. I didn't think of that being the thing. I thought it was just you have something to hold on to more, but
Yeah, it's for stability purposes, like not to hold on to it like this or anything, but just it just gives you more stability, and since it moves around, you don't have to really do much other than move the mini around.
no, that's cool. That's really, really cool. So that's basically all the tools you have, right?
I think so. I can't think of anything at the moment. I
Okay.
feel like I'm missing something, but I don't think I do.
Well, that's cool. Because and the reason I have people show their tools is because everybody has their own unique little thing they use to get to the object, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's it's okay to be different, and what because not everybody uses everything out of the hobby section.
Yeah.
There's other parts of Walmart. You know?
I do use two other things, which is why I was thinking I was forgetting. I don't know where the other one went.
Uh-oh.
So, palette knife, because it's great for a lot of different uses, especially when you're spreading glue on like bases or spreading like the textured base, pastes. And then the little silicone, like it's like sculpting tools. I usually use these for gap filling.
Oh yeah, for the epoxy sculpt and stuff.
Yep.
No, that's awesome. I always forget about those tools too. So we're just after the new year. What's your like thing you're gonna learn how to do this year in the hobby?
Oh, thing I'm gonna learn how to do. I'm gonna learn how to be more consistent again this year, for one. Because sometimes that is one of our, biggest hurdles as, painters, right? We kind of sometimes treat it like as it only as a hobby, like even though, and because part of it is, I went back to my job part-time, like I went to a 9 to 5 or now a 9 to 1, whatever a part-time is, right? So just getting into the rhythm of actually painting again, even if it's for 15 minutes a day, like if you want to start like doing something that you enjoy again. Like I say, do that. But also I think I'm gonna try and foray more into oils this year as well.
Oh, so you'll really be talking to James.
I did pick his brain on the very first time I did that one, and I think now it's just a matter of like learning how to actually like I need to relearn how to mix paints. That's the thing. So I'm really good on some of like the regular paints here, right? A lot of people have trouble with understanding that there's more than one pigment in the mini paints. So like for example, my husband Clint, when he was painting, a lot of his pieces started getting muddled because there's he was mixing colors that had two different base tones. So the colors were getting muddled on the palette and therefore muddled on the model itself. For me, it's easier for me to pick out what like base tone is under there, or like, oh, this is an orange mixed in with a little bit of green, like, like undertones. But I need to relearn how to consistently mix oils because it's something that I've lost touch with because my dad's an artist. So I did do some of this when I was younger, but I've lost touch with it. So I just need to go back and do it.
Well, and just to talk about the oils for a second, the thing that I like about the oils is like compared to the acrylics is you can like lay purple on top of blue or blue on top of purple, and you can do that while you're just going, and it'll mix itself pretty much.
Yeah. So my favorite thing about yeah, well, you still can. It's just it is much more difficult just because of the work time. But like I think for me that's kind of the fun where I'm enjoying it a lot is the work time that I have. Because again, Vegas. I keep saying it.
So we've hit about that hour mark. So did you have any questions for me at all?
Oh man. This was always like the part in interviews I failed at. Just even in regular jobs. How'd you start doing this? Like interviewing, what got you the idea to start?
So I don't remember when we started now, but like I'm gonna say 2019. I was on the Spruecast podcast, and we did it up to December of 2020, and they decided they didn't want to do it anymore. So I paid for this service, the StreamYard thing we're using. And I got it on Black Friday, so I got a really good deal on it. And I wasn't using it, right? Because we were going to use it for the podcast. And I wasn't using it, so I either had to figure something out or I was just going to get rid of it, right? So I said, well, let me try this, see how it goes. And so I got like 5 or 6 people lined up, and I was just going to do 5 of them at first. And then I got Dirk, Lynn, a guy local to me to help do, and I just did 5 of them. And by the third one, like it just blew up. So I just kept doing it.
Nice.
And we're in COVID, so there's really not, there's really not a lot to do in Oregon because we're still basically on lockdown up here. But so I just kind of went with it, and I'm growing the channel too. That was part of this, and I've grown the channel a little bit. I've been learning how to do stuff as we go along. I mean, it looks pink, but it's actually the pure red from Army Painter. And how to, get better at this hobby, and it's slowly kind of just taking a life of its own. I mean, at some point, I'm not going to do this every week because I'm going to run out of people at some point. But, that's kind of how this all got started, was from the podcast.
Nice.
Yeah, I've been in the hobby back in the hobby for like 6 years now. So now, it's taken a life of its own. Like I 3D print stuff. I
Yeah.
have a resin 3D printer, but I'm waiting for it to get a little bit warmer before I start playing around with that again.
Mm.
I mean, it has its advantages, right? But it
Yeah.
also has its disadvantages
Yeah.
because you mess stuff up and you got to reprint stuff. I mean, it turns out great till you got to the arm. you know, it's crazy. So to answer this question, but here's the issue. A lot of people don't want to come on screen because they want to keep it private. This is their hobby, not, they don't want to get the limelight kind of thing. And it's totally cool. And not everybody, some people I've asked have been really cool. Like, I know we were trying to get you on last year, I think.
Yeah.
Schedule it a couple times. But like some people just they don't want to be on camera. And they're right. It's, all I have to do is ask. And for the most part, people have come on, but I've starting to get a lot of pushback because we're starting to go back to normal life a little bit, and people aren't as home as much.
Yeah, and sometimes like that's the weird thing about artists sometimes is we get imposter syndrome really badly. So even when we are asked on, we're just like, I don't know, am I really good for this? Like, can I do a good job? So we have a lot of that stuff going on in the back end too.
No, and like I said, it's totally cool, and everybody has their right to say no, and I respect that. And it is what it is, right? I mean, and that's why I said this segment is only going to have a shelf life for so long, because I'm going to run out of people that want to come on too. So, I mean, it is what it is, but I can't control it at the same time. I mean, it's kind of like the podcast, right? You can only do it for so long before you run out of topics, right?
Yeah. And
I
then
mean,
you're just old friends just sitting around and joking around, acting like high schoolers.
whatever, Mopar. No, it's really cool. Yeah, so if I usually try to keep these to about an hour to keep people's attention. But yeah, if you didn't have any other questions, I'm actually gonna try to end this.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, yeah. It's good talking to you because I know we've been talking about this for forever and just
Well, and I've been on Models Workshop for probably 5, 6 years, 7 years now, and I've always been posting this. I've been, and like I said,
it's just sometimes like life gets the better of us. So
yeah, so. But anyway, I'm going to end this. So I will talk to you in a couple minutes offline, and I'm going to
sounds
end
good.
the show, and I will see you. Thank you for coming on too. I'm glad we were able to work this out.
Thanks for having me.
I know I learned a lot. That's funny. Okay. But I will talk to you in a couple minutes. So I hope everybody learned something like I did today. I definitely learned a couple things in this episode. So there's going to be a live episode this Wednesday. It's going to be on a topic about the modeling community. So there's going to be a special show on Wednesday this week. I'm going to be doing something for a fellow modeler. So if you want to help out or let me know, but I will have more to come on Wednesday. Thank you guys all for watching, and I will see you guys next week. Okay, bye.